I have invented the world I see. 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 Apply the idea to your inner and outer world. I have invented the world I see. I have invented the world I see. To any situation today that may distress you, tell yourself, I have invented this situation as I see it. I have invented this situation as I see it. I have invented the world I see. I have invented the world I see. I have invented the world I see. Well, thank you all so much for joining me. I'm Forgiveness Willie, teaching forgiveness from the Ozarks. And I'm sitting out here in the snow on, let's see, this is for Sunday, February the 1st of 2026 lesson. It is the Thursday preceding that Sunday that I'm doing this recording. Nice kind of a snow's not quite melted, but it looks like it's going to do some melting this afternoon. I've invented the world I see. Kind of a continuation of yesterday's, isn't it? I am not the victim of the world I see. You're not the victim because you made it. And he's wanting us to recognize that the idea for today, I have invented the world I see, applies to the world you see with your eyes and applies to the world you see with your mind's eye. So let's take a look at the lesson, and we're reading from the Foundation for Inner Peace version. And you know, I haven't been telling you all where to read if you're doing the other readings today. I'll get to that in here in a few minutes. Hope I remember. I have been putting it in the description below, but if you haven't heard me say anything, I'm just assuming you'll still read a page or two every day. Lesson 32 of our other associated readings for you multiple year students. First year students, don't worry about it, unless you want to. Don't worry about it, no matter who you are. I've invented the world I see. Today we are continuing to develop the theme of cause and effect. You are not the victim of the world you see because you invented it. You can give it up as easily as you made it up. You will see it or not see it as you wish. While you want it, you will see it. When you no longer want it, it will not be there for you to see. Wow. Power of our wanting. The idea for today, like the preceding ones, applied to your inner and outer worlds, which are actually the same. Your inner and outer world are actually the same. However, since you see them differently, the practice periods for today will again include two phases. One involving the world you see outside you, and the other the world you see in your mind. In today's exercises, try to introduce the thought that both are in your own imagination. Isn't that something? They're all in our imagination. Again, we will begin the practice periods for the morning and evening by repeating the idea for today 2 or 3 times while looking around at the world you see as outside yourself. Then close your eyes and look around your inner world. Okay, the same way you look around and say, well, there's a tree. Oh, that tree right behind me, that green one right there, is a thuja. That's a genera. And it's an occidentalus. Had quite a few of them planted, but the bagworms seemed to have killed them all off. That one there wasn't affected by the bagworms. One beside it partially was. It may not make it through another year. Anyway, Thuja occidentalis. Anyway, so looking around, I see a Thuja occidentalis. I see a post oak. I see, I'm just looking around my outer world, looking at what I see. Well, then you can do the exact same thing with your inner world. And he encourages you to do just that. And we've reached the place now in our lessons that if you're really getting it and it's enjoyable, you can take as much time as you want on the lessons. There at the beginning, he didn't want us to spend more than a minute or so. Well, now we're at the place where if you're really getting it, you can take as many lessons as you want and take as long as you want. Okay? Ever since yesterday, 31 and 32. Kind of 1 month in, and it gives us the freedom to spend as much time as you want in your inner world. Then close your eyes and look around your inner world. Try to treat them both as equally as possible. Repeat the idea for today unhurriedly as often as you wish. As you watch the images your imagination presents to your awareness. For the 2 longer practice periods, 3 to 5 minutes are recommended with not less than 3 required. More than 5 can be utilized if you find the exercises restful. Let me make a point there. Don't spend longer than 3 to 5 minutes unless you feel it like, well, this is uplifting, it's restful, it inspires me. Well, then you can do it longer. To facilitate this, select a time when few distractions are anticipated and when you yourself feel reasonably ready. These exercises are also to be continued during the day as often as possible. The shorter applications consist of repeating the idea slowly as you survey either your inner or outer world. It does not matter which you choose. I have invented the world I see. I have invented the world I see. And you just kind of look around looking at the world you see, and then you might close your eyes on some of these short practice periods and look what your thoughts are presenting to your mind and say, I've invented the world I see. Okay? It does not matter which you choose, your inner or outer world. The idea for today should also be applied immediately to any situation that may distress you. Apply the idea by telling yourself, I have invented this situation as I see it. So if there's something that comes up that disturbs you, well, then definitely use it and say, well, I invented this situation as I see it. Okay? So you kind of know what to do in your longer 3 to 5 minute practice period, longer if you want, but no requirement. 3 minimum requirement, 3 minutes twice today. And even if you don't feel it's restful, take 3 minutes twice today. Try not to feel coerced, though. That's not going to help you at all. Just do it because your big brother says it's a good thing to do, to spend a little time with your eyes closed in the quiet. And you don't even have to spend the whole 3 minutes with your eyes closed. He said you can look around at your outer world for part of that time. Okay? All right, let's go take a look now in chapter 4 in the text, The Illusions of the Ego, Roman numeral 2, the ego and false autonomy. And while you're turning there, let me just give you a quick, for multiple year students, if you're reading out of the original edition, today you'll want to read chapter 4, Roman numeral 3. And if you read some yesterday, which I didn't mention, then you might be at paragraph 32. And if you are, well, then start there and read it from 33 to 40 in Roman numeral 3. In your Bible, read Mark chapter 4. In Iyengar Yoga, read page 48. And you can read 49 too. It's all one, but we'll probably spend a couple days on 48 and 49 so that you can really read through it good, try to practice what he says to do in your standing posture. And then you might have someone else read it to you and as you're standing there, and make sure that you're doing everything he says to do. Okay? And then A Course of Love, chapter 8, verse 10 through 17. Or not verse, but paragraph 10 through 17. Okay, now let's take a look in our text reading. The ego and false autonomy. It is reasonable to ask how the mind could ever have made the ego. In fact, it is the best question you could ask. There is, however, no point in giving an answer in terms of the past, because the past does not matter, and history would not exist if the same errors were not being repeated in the present. That's an interesting idea. Abstract thought applies to knowledge because knowledge is completely impersonal, and examples are irrelevant to its understanding. Perception, however, is always specific and therefore quite concrete. Paragraph 2. Everyone makes an ego or a self of himself, which is subject to enormous variation because of its instability. He also makes an ego for everyone else he perceives, which is equally variable. Their interaction is a process that alters both, because they were not made by or with the unalterable. And that word unalterable is capitalized, referring to God, the unalterable. It is important to realize that this alteration can and does occur as readily when the interaction takes place in the mind as when it involves physical proximity. That's a key idea that we're learning more and more, certainly applicable in today's lesson. I've invented the world I see, whether or not you're looking at it or whether you're next to the person that is, you might be thinking about somebody in your mind that disturbs you. And look what he says. Their interaction is a process that alters both, because they were not made by or with the unalterable. It is important to realize that this alteration can and does occur as readily when the interaction takes place in the mind as when it involves physical proximity. So if you want to grow on past a perceived hurt that you're holding, you don't have to have the physical experience again. You don't have to have the person in your presence. Just go into your mind and remind yourself, particularly today, I've invented this situation as I see it, because I've invented the world I see. Thinking about another ego is as effective in changing relative perception as is physical interaction. There could be no better example that the ego is only an idea and not a fact. Your own state of mind is a good example of how the ego was made. When you threw knowledge away, it is as if you never had it. This is so apparent that one need only recognize it to see that it does happen. If this occurs in the present, why is it surprising that it occurred in the past? Surprise is a reasonable response to the unfamiliar, though hardly to something that occurs with such persistence. But do not forget that the mind need not work that way, even though it does work that way now. So he's saying there's a new way the mind can work if we're just, and this is a book on mind training. so that we can learn to watch our minds and only allow reality to fill our consciousness, which is associated with peace and love. Paragraph 4. Think of the love of animals for their offspring and the need they feel to protect them. That is because they regard them as part of themselves. No one dismisses something he considers part of himself. You react to your ego much as God does to his creations, with love, protection, and charity. Isn't that interesting? I haven't quite understood the difference. He's got a line up there of love, protection, and charity. And he's talked about in other places that charity's a love encompassment idea that's beyond what we really can understand in this experience. But he does list it here. You react to your ego much as God does to his creations, with love, protection, and charity. Isn't that nice to know that we're protected by God? Your reactions to the self you made are not surprising. In fact, they resemble in many ways how you will one day react to your real creations, which are as timeless as you are. The question is not how you respond to the ego, but what you believe you are. Belief is an ego function, and as long as your origin is open to belief, you're regarding it from an ego viewpoint. When teaching is no longer necessary, you will merely know God. Belief that there is another way of perceiving is the loftiest idea of which ego thinking is capable. That is because it contains a hint of recognition that the ego is not the self. Paragraph 5. Undermining the ego's thought system must be perceived as painful, even though this is anything but true. Babies scream and rage if they take away a knife or scissors, although they may well harm themselves if you do not. What a good example of how the ego's thought system must be perceived as painful. Undermining the ego's thought system must be perceived as painful, even though this is anything but true. And then his example, babies scream and rage if you take away a knife or scissors, although they may well harm themselves if you do not. In this sense, you are still a baby. Let your ego go. It's like a knife or a scissors in your baby's hands. You have no sense of real preservation. You have no sense of real self-preservation and are likely to decide that you need precisely what would hurt you most. You have no sense of real self-preservation and are likely to decide that you need precisely what would hurt you most. Yet whether or not you recognize it now, you have agreed to cooperate in the effort to become both harmless and helpful, attributes that must go together. Your attitudes even toward this are necessarily conflicted because all attitudes are ego-based. This will not last. Be patient a while, and remember that the outcome is as certain as God. Inevitable, remember that? Paragraph 6. Only those who have a real and lasting sense of abundance can be truly charitable. This is obvious when you consider what is involved. To the ego, to give anything implies that you will have to do without it. When you associate giving with sacrifice, you give only because you believe that you are somehow getting something better and can therefore do without the thing you give. Giving to get is an inescapable law of the ego, which always evaluates itself in relation to other egos. Of course, our whole monetary system is based on that, isn't it? Giving to get is an inescapable law of the ego, which always evaluates itself in relation to other egos. There is another monetary system in our minds that we can begin to use now that doesn't associate giving to get. Or maybe it does, but it does it in a much different way because it realizes that everything you give is how you keep it. It is therefore the ego is therefore continually preoccupied with the belief in scarcity that gave rise to it. Its whole perception of other egos as real is only an attempt to convince itself that it is real. Self-esteem in ego terms means nothing more than that the ego has deluded itself into accepting its reality and is therefore temporarily less predatory. This self-esteem is always vulnerable to stress, a term which refers to any perceived threat to the ego's existence. Wow, threat. Or stress is a term which refers to any perceived threat to the ego's existence. And we're going to stop with paragraph 7. We're about halfway through this section. The ego literally lives by comparisons. Equality is beyond its grasp, and charity becomes impossible. The ego never gives out of abundance because it was made as a substitute for it. That is why the concept of getting arose in the ego's thought system. Appetites are, in quotes, getting mechanisms, representing the ego's need to confirm itself. This is as true of body appetites as it is of the so-called higher ego needs. Body appetites are not physical in origin. The ego regards the body as its home and tries to satisfy itself through the body. But the idea that this is possible is a decision of the mind, which has become completely confused about what is really possible. Okay, well, there we go. And I might mention that, remember, he told us a few days ago in our reading that he wants us to give what's not important to him so that he can take care of it. That is our ego. And he said, just let me take care of your ego. You just abide in the goodness of the holiness of God. Okay, let's see what's going on around the world today as we study I Have Invented the World I See, which is lesson 32. It's Feast of St. Bridget, which is a Catholic and some Christians celebrate it. She was actually a Druid and was known for compassion. She was from Kildare, a Celtic. Bridget of Kildare, a Celt. That brings us into Imbolc. Imbolc is for pagans and Wiccans. It's the halfway point between winter and spring, and it's dedicated to Bridget and the return of light. Also in Judaism, it's Tu Bishvat. Is that how you spell it? Tu Bishvat. It's the new year for trees. It's time to plant trees. Magha Purnima for Hindus. Today is a good day to take a bath in one of the holy rivers like the Ganges in India. Any river can be holy if you look at it through the eyes of God. But there's probably some that have more socially accepted holiness norms or concepts. World Interfaith Harmony Week. Therapusan, which is a Hindu victory over evil day, abolition of slavery, signed the 13th Amendment on this day in 1865. Ratified before the end of the year. Abolition of slavery. British Yorkshire Pudding Day, Candy Making Day, Car Insurance Day, CBD Day, Change Your Password Day. I've changed your password. I changed mine, and I have a terrible time remembering them. Conservation and Guardianship Abuse Awareness Day. Dark Chocolate Day, the Theobroma Cacao. Dump Your Significant Jerk Day. I don't know what that's all about. Hula Inakula Day, Holiday Hugs Day, International Day of Black Women in the Arts Day, International Face and Body Art Day, Freedom Day, Get Up Day, Robinson Crusoe Day, Scout Sunday, Texas Day, Serpent Day, Spunky Old Broads Day, World Aspergillosis Day, which is a mold disease, and World Hijab Day. You know, those scarves that Islamic women wear to align with their devotion to God. Okay, well, we appreciate anybody that's willing to align with God, whatever their custom is. And we were going to talk a little more about. Let's see if I've got time. The edema. Well, let's talk about edamame, tancuro edamame, which is basically a soybean. Edamame, young green immature soybeans. The glycine max. Well, in Baker Creek, it says of this particular variety, we'll read more about it as we go along. We are excited to offer this premium soybean from Japan, the tancuro edamame. After years of trialing and testing, we have finally found our favorite edamame variety. It has superior flavor and vigorous growth habit. This variety is highly regarded in Japan for its sweet flavor. It is perfect for edamame, or allow the beans to mature to a deep black and make into soy milk, tofu, or so much more. A perfect homesteader's or home gardener's beginner soybean with amazing flavor to boot. Okay. And let's see, I guess we're ready to close with our song. Let's take our word from Ethiopia today. Salammata. Salammata. They're on the Blue Nile and originates at Lake Tana and feeds the Nile, the Tikez or the Setit River, and the Baro River, and more. But there's a few of Ethiopia. Salammata. I have invented the world I see. I have invented the world I see. Take a minute, look around. Say, I have invented the world I see. I have invented the world I see. Then close your eyes and look at your inner landscape. Tell yourself, same thing. I have invented the world I see. 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 Apply the idea to your inner world and your outer world. I have invented the world I see. I have invented the world I see. Apply the idea to your inner and outer world. I have invented the world I see. And then throughout the day, to any situation today that may distress you, tell yourself, I have invented the situation as I see it. For I have invented the world I see. And our word for peace today from Ethiopia is Salammata. Salammata be with you. I have invented the world I see. Salammata.